Dinosaurs and even this monster weren't the worst. From venomous giants to bone-crushing beasts, let's dive into the scariest creatures to ever live. The Jurassic seas were filled with monsters, but few were as terrifying as Dakosaurus. This marine reptile wasn't just another pliosaur or plesiosaur, it was something different. Nicknamed Godzilla by paleontologists, it had a massive, deep skull with serrated teeth that looked like they belonged to a land-dwelling predator. Unlike the sleek, needle-toothed killers of its time, Dakosaurus was built for brute force, biting down with devastating power. It stalked the oceans over 150 million years ago, a fearsome ambush predator lurking beneath the waves. With a body stretching up to 16 feet, it wasn't the biggest marine reptile, but its terrifying bite more than made up for it. This creature didn't just hunt fish. It could take down other marine reptiles, even ones nearly its own size. Its teeth, thick and jagged, worked like a shark's, tearing through flesh with ease. Unlike most of its kin, Dakosaurus had a short, compact snout, giving it an eerie resemblance to modern crocodiles. But this wasn't a sluggish ambush hunter waiting in the shallows. It was built for the open ocean, slicing through the water with its powerful tail. It could launch itself at prey with deadly precision, clamping its jaws down before its victim even had a chance to react. Fossil evidence suggests it had a massive bite force, rivaling some of the most powerful predators in history. Scientists believe it might have used a technique similar to killer whales, thrashing its head from side to side to rip massive chunks of flesh from its prey. Some of its closest relatives even had adaptations for echolocation, meaning these terrifying hunters may have stalked their prey in complete darkness, sensing them before striking from below. Long before dinosaurs ruled the earth, something else prowled the land. Something that looked like a terrifying mix between a reptile and a sabre-toothed cat. This was Inostrancevia, one of the most fearsome predators of the Permian period. It wasn't a mammal, but it wasn't quite a reptile either. It belonged to a strange and ancient group called Gorgonopsids, early relatives of the creatures that would one day become mammals. But there was nothing warm and fuzzy about this thing. Stretching over 11 feet long, Inostrancevia was a true top predator, hunting down anything unlucky enough to cross its path. Its most terrifying feature? Two massive saber-like fangs that could rip through flesh with ease. Unlike big cats, which had to rely on sheer force, Inostrancevia had teeth designed for precision. These sabers could puncture deep into muscle and organs, ensuring that its prey didn't get far after a bite. And unlike later saber-toothed predators, it didn't have lips to cover its fangs, meaning they were always exposed, making it look even more nightmarish. But its teeth were just part of the horror. This creature had a powerful, almost dog-like skull, built to clamp down on prey with a crushing force. Its limbs were long and muscular, allowing it to move swiftly across the dry, barren landscapes of the late Permian. It didn't need to stalk its prey for long, it could run them down with brutal efficiency. The world Inostrancevia lived in was collapsing, with mass extinctions wiping out entire species. But for a brief period, it was the king of a dying world, the last great predator before disaster struck. If you think modern elephants are bizarre, prehistoric ones were on another level. Platybelodon looked like something out of a fantasy novel, with a long trunk and a pair of tusks, not on the sides of its mouth like a regular elephant, but fused into a flat, shovel-like structure. It was an elephant that traded brute strength for a tool designed to reshape the landscape. Roaming the grassy floodplains around 10 million years ago, Platybelodon wasn't a predator, but that didn't make it any less intimidating. Its mouth was like a living excavator, stripping bark off trees, cutting through tough vegetation, and even digging into mud for roots. Some scientists originally thought it used its tusks like a giant scoop, but more recent studies suggest it was a forest destroyer, ripping up entire sections of trees to get at the tastiest parts. If you saw a herd of these creatures moving through the landscape, they wouldn't just be eating, they would be reshaping the environment itself. Despite its odd looks, Platybelodon was a highly successful species, spreading across Africa, Europe, Asia, and North America. It had no need for massive fangs or claws. Its strength was in its numbers and its ability to dominate entire ecosystems. But as the world changed and grasslands replaced the dense forests it relied on, the shovel-tusked elephant disappeared forever, replaced by more modern elephant species. Millions of years ago, Australia was home to something far more terrifying than any modern predator, A giant venomous lizard that ruled the land with brute force. This was Megalania, the largest terrestrial lizard to ever walk the earth. It looked like an oversized Komodo dragon, but it was on an entirely different scale. Estimates suggest it could grow over 20 feet long and weigh more than 1,000 pounds, making it one of the top predators of its time. Everything about Megalania was built for killing. Its razor-sharp teeth were serrated like a shark's, allowing it to slice through flesh with ease. Its massive claws could tear into prey, leaving deep wounds that bled profusely. But its most terrifying weapon? Venom. Like its modern-day cousin, the Komodo dragon, Megalania is believed to have had venom glands in its mouth, delivering a toxic cocktail that prevented blood from clotting and sent victims into shock. Even if an animal escaped the initial attack, it wouldn't last long. This massive lizard hunted giant marsupials, birds, and even early humans who might have encountered it in prehistoric Australia. There was no running from it. Megalania was built for endurance, stalking its prey patiently before striking with overwhelming power. If one of these monsters was lurking in the underbrush, you wouldn't hear it until it was too late. But Megalania's reign eventually came to an end, possibly wiped out by changing climates or competition with early human hunters. Still, its closest relatives remain today. The Komodo dragon is a distant echo of this prehistoric beast, a reminder that the age of monstrous lizards isn't entirely over. But while Megalania ruled the land, another nightmare was waiting in the depths of the ocean. Something far more massive, more powerful, and completely unstoppable. When people think of the deadliest predator of the Cretaceous, most imagine the T-Rex. But on the other side of the battle for survival, something even bigger ruled the seas. Mosasaurus was the undisputed apex predator of the prehistoric oceans, a reptilian titan that could grow over 50 feet long, larger than a modern great white shark. Unlike slow-moving marine reptiles of the past, Mosasaurus was built for speed and pure destruction. It had an elongated body powered by a massive tail, allowing it to torpedo through the water with terrifying efficiency. Its head alone was the size of a man, packed with razor-sharp teeth designed to crush bones and tear through flesh. Unlike sharks, it didn't just rely on a single row of teeth. It had a secondary set of teeth embedded in its throat, ensuring that anything unlucky enough to get caught in its jaws wasn't coming back out. This monster wasn't picky about its meals. It devoured fish, squid, marine reptiles, even other mosasaurs. Nothing was off-limits. Some fossil evidence suggests it even engaged in brutal fights with its own kind, with massive bite marks found on other Mosasaurus skulls. If two of these giants clashed, the ocean would have churned with blood. Mosasaurus wasn't just big, it was relentless. Unlike many other prehistoric creatures that stuck to specific regions, mosasaurs spread across oceans worldwide, making them one of the most successful marine predators in history. If you were swimming in the Cretaceous seas, you wouldn't see it coming until its jaws closed around you. It was the true ruler of the ocean, dominating the waters up until the very end of the dinosaur age. Some prehistoric creatures were terrifying because of their size, their strength, or their ability to hunt with brutal efficiency. Monstrum, however, was terrifying for an entirely different reason. It was something that shouldn't exist. This strange, eel-like creature has puzzled scientists since its discovery, and even today, no one is completely sure what it was. It slithered through the murky waters of ancient swamps 300 million years ago, moving like a shadow, with a body that looks like it was stitched together from different animals. At first glance it seems harmless. It was small, around a foot long, with a soft, flexible body. But then you see its head, or rather, its lack of one. Instead of a normal mouth, it had a long, thin trunk ending in a claw-like structure lined with sharp teeth. It used this nightmarish appendage to snatch unsuspecting prey, dragging them into its flexible maw. But that wasn't the only bizarre feature. Its eyes weren't even on its face. They sat on stalks extending from either side of its body, giving it an almost alien appearance. Monstrum is such an evolutionary mystery that scientists still debate what kind of creature it actually was. Some think it was a type of worm-like vertebrate. Others believe it was related to modern lampreys, jawless parasitic fish that latch onto victims and drink their blood. The truth, no one knows for certain, but what we do know is that for millions of years, this unsettling, otherworldly creature thrived in dark prehistoric waters, hunting, feeding, and lurking beneath the surface. As strange as Monstrum was, it wasn't alone in Earth's ancient swamps. These murky waters hid another monster, one that scuttled along the bottom, waiting to strike with venomous precision. It was armored, it was massive, and it was one of the largest arachnids to ever live. Before the world belonged to dinosaurs, and even before vertebrates took their first steps onto land, arthropods ruled the planet. And one of the most fearsome was Brontoscorpio, a scorpion the size of a house cat that hunted with the deadly efficiency of a modern predator. Unlike its smaller relatives, this wasn't a creature to be stepped on. It could reach nearly 3 feet in length, making it one of the largest scorpions to ever exist. Brontoscorpio lived around 420 million years ago, in a time when Earth's landmasses were mostly barren, and life thrived in the water. This massive scorpion was one of the first arachnids capable of living both in the sea and on land. Scientists believe it used its powerful pincers to snatch up smaller arthropods, fish, and anything else that got too close. But its most dangerous weapon? Its enormous, curved stinger. Unlike modern scorpions, which rely on stealth and venom, Brontoscorpio was heavily armored, covered in thick exoskeletal plates that made it a walking tank. Fossil evidence suggests it may have been one of the first creatures to develop primitive lungs, meaning it could crawl onto land for short periods. Imagine being one of the first fish to try venturing onto land, only to find a 3-foot-long scorpion waiting to strike. Brontoscorpio was one of the last of its kind before even larger and more terrifying arthropods evolved. Its world was one of giant insects, monstrous millipedes, and massive sea scorpions, a time when the deadliest creatures on the planet weren't dinosaurs or sharks, but insects and arachnids the size of dogs. Long after the age of dinosaurs, when mammals had begun to take over, one predator kept the ancient world locked in fear. Koolasuchus, one of the most fearsome terror birds, was a flightless killing machine that dominated South America around 10 million years ago. This creature was no slow, clumsy ostrich. It was a 7-foot-tall, 300-pound apex predator designed to chase down prey and tear it apart with a massive hooked beak. Unlike modern birds, Koolasuchus had long, powerful legs built for speed, capable of reaching over 30 miles per hour. It could easily outrun most of the mammals it hunted. Its attack strategy was brutal. It would sprint after its prey, using its sheer size to knock it off balance, then deliver devastating pecks with its sharp beak. The impact alone was enough to crush bones. Some scientists believe it could even grab smaller animals in its beak and slam them against the ground to finish the kill. Its skull was nearly 2 feet long, armed with a beak shaped like a meat hook. One bite could pierce flesh, break bones, or rip off chunks of meat in seconds. Koolasuchus wasn't just fast, it was relentless. Fossil evidence suggests that these birds were highly aggressive, capable of taking down prey almost their own size. Even early mammals had little defense against them. For millions of years, terror birds were the top land predators in South America, ruling over an isolated world where no large carnivorous mammals existed. But eventually, their reign came to an end. When the land bridge between North and South America formed, large predators like sabre-toothed cats and dire wolves arrived, competing for the same food. The terror birds couldn't keep up, and their once thriving dynasty faded away. If crocodiles are scary today, Kaprosuchus would have been the stuff of nightmares. Unlike modern crocs that lurk in rivers and swamps, this monster could sprint on land, chasing down prey like a predator straight out of a horror movie. And if that wasn't terrifying enough, it also had huge forward-facing fangs, like a cross between a crocodile and a wild boar. Kaprosuchus lived around 95 million years ago, during the late Cretaceous. It was about 20 feet long, built with powerful limbs that could carry it onto land, unlike the mostly aquatic crocodiles of today. Fossil evidence suggests it was a fast, active hunter, capable of taking down large dinosaurs and anything else that got too close. While modern crocodiles rely on ambush tactics, waiting patiently in the water, Kaprosuchus may have actively pursued its prey, running after it like a reptilian wolf. But its most terrifying feature was its saber-like teeth. These weren't just for crushing. They were built to slice through flesh, allowing it to hold on to struggling prey. Unlike the cone-shaped teeth of modern crocs, which are designed for gripping, Kaprosuchus had huge serrated fangs that could puncture deep wounds, making escape almost impossible. If something fell into its jaws, it wasn't getting back out. Kaprosuchus lived in ancient wetlands, likely lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It didn't need to be the biggest predator in its ecosystem. Its speed, power, and terrifying bite made it one of the most dangerous. Imagine being a small dinosaur, wandering too close to the water's edge. One moment, everything is still. The next, a 20-foot reptilian nightmare is charging straight at you, jaws wide open. Its kind eventually disappeared, but crocodiles remained, evolving into the ambush hunters we know today. Kaprosuchus may be gone, but its bloodline lives on. Before dinosaurs took over the Earth, Dimetrodon was the undisputed king of the land. This fearsome predator stalked ancient swamps and floodplains around 290 million years ago, long before the first dinosaurs ever walked the planet. Though often mistaken for a dinosaur, Dimetrodon was actually more closely related to mammals, but it had none of the warm-blooded traits we associate with them today. It was a cold-blooded killer, built for raw power and efficiency. Stretching up to 15 feet long, Dimetrodon was a top-tier predator that could take down anything in its path. Its head was massive, equipped with a powerful bone-crushing bite, but its teeth were what made it truly terrifying. Unlike many other reptiles of its time, it had two different types of teeth: sharp fangs for slicing meat and smaller ones for gripping struggling prey. This adaptation made it one of the first creatures in history to have a specialized, deadly bite. And then there was the sail on its back, one of the strangest features in prehistoric evolution. This massive spine structure has puzzled scientists for years. Some believe it helped regulate body temperature, allowing Dimetrodon to warm up quickly in the sun, giving it an early hunting advantage. Others think it was used for intimidation or attracting mates. Whatever the purpose, it made Dimetrodon look even more monstrous, like a reptilian nightmare stalking the ancient landscape. For millions of years, Dimetrodon ruled unchallenged, dominating a world filled with giant amphibians and strange primitive reptiles. But eventually, its reign ended, as the Earth changed, paving the way for an entirely new kind of predator, one bigger, stronger, and unlike anything that had come before. When dinosaurs finally emerged, some of them would grow larger than any land predator before them. One of these giants would take hunting to an entirely new level, not just ruling the land but dominating both water and shore, like a living crocodile from hell. If dinosaurs had a monster that blurred the line between land and water, Spinosaurus was it. Over 50 feet long and weighing more than 7 tons, it wasn't just the largest carnivorous dinosaur ever discovered, it was something completely unique. While other predators like T-Rex relied on raw power, Spinosaurus was a specialized killer, built to dominate prehistoric rivers and lakes. Its skull was long and narrow, more like a crocodile's than a typical theropod's. Inside were conical teeth designed to pierce and hold onto slippery prey, perfect for snatching up massive fish and even small dinosaurs that wandered too close to the water. Some evidence suggests Spinosaurus may have had pressure-sensitive snouts, allowing it to detect movement underwater, just like modern crocodiles. That meant anything swimming nearby was doomed before it even realized what was happening. But the strangest feature of Spinosaurus was its massive sail-like structure rising from its back. Some scientists think it helped with thermoregulation, displaying dominance or even acting as a stabilizer for swimming. Unlike other large theropods that hunted on land, Spinosaurus was semi-aquatic, built to wade through rivers, lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Its powerful arms, tipped with massive claws, could rip apart prey with ease. Unlike T-Rex, which relied on its bite, Spinosaurus had the strength to pull down prey using its forelimbs, making it even deadlier. But what made it truly terrifying was its sheer versatility. It wasn't restricted to land like most theropods, and it wasn't fully bound to the water like a marine reptile. It ruled both, giving it an unmatched advantage over its environment. In a world before saber-toothed cats and dire wolves, Andrewsarchus was the undisputed heavyweight of mammalian predators. Roughly the size of a modern rhino, this beast roamed the plains of Eocene Asia around 45 million years ago, hunting, scavenging, and crushing anything unfortunate enough to stand in its way. It wasn't quite a wolf, not a bear, and not a big cat, yet it had the terrifying traits of all three combined. Its most fearsome weapon was its skull, which measured nearly 3 feet long, making it one of the largest carnivorous land mammal skulls ever discovered. Packed inside that skull were bone-crushing jaws, capable of snapping through thick bones with ease. Some scientists believe Andrewsarchus was an active predator, while others suggest it was more of a scavenger, using its massive bite to crack open carcasses and steal kills from other hunters. Either way, it was built for power, and nothing in its environment could challenge it. Despite its wolf-like appearance, Andrewsarchus wasn't related to canines at all. In fact, its closest living relatives are whales and hippos, which makes imagining this beast even more bizarre. It's as if nature tried to create a land-dwelling version of an orca, a relentless carnivore with an unstoppable bite. Australia's prehistoric past was filled with bizarre, dangerous creatures, but none were as terrifying as Thylacoleo, the marsupial lion. Despite its name, it wasn't a lion at all, but an ancient relative of wombats and koalas. Except this relative didn't eat leaves. It hunted, ambushed, and killed with the efficiency of a modern big cat. Living up to 46,000 years ago, Thylacoleo was the apex predator of Ice Age Australia. It wasn't particularly fast, but it didn't need to be. It had short, powerful limbs built for ambush attacks, launching itself at prey with overwhelming force. Its bite was one of the strongest, pound for pound, of any mammal to ever live, capable of shearing through flesh and bone with ease. Unlike big cats, which have long canine teeth, Thylacoleo's front teeth were more like massive shearing blades, designed to slice through muscle in one swift motion. Its semi-opposable thumbs were armed with enormous claws, giving it a grip so strong that once it latched onto its prey, escape was impossible. Some researchers believe it may have even climbed trees and ambushed from above, making it an absolute nightmare for anything that crossed its path. Long after giant amphibians had vanished from most of the world, Koolasuchus was still thriving. This massive, salamander-like predator lived in the rivers of Australia 120 million years ago, sharing its world with dinosaurs yet remaining an evolutionary relic from an even older time. Koolasuchus wasn't just big, it was monstrous, growing up to 15 feet long and weighing over 1,000 pounds. It resembled an oversized salamander with a wide, flat skull and a mouth filled with rows of sharp, gripping teeth. Unlike modern amphibians, which mostly hunt insects, Koolasuchus was built to take down much larger prey, ambushing fish, reptiles, and anything that wandered too close to the water's edge. It thrived in the cold, fast-moving rivers of Cretaceous Australia, a habitat where dinosaurs like Spinosaurus and larger crocodiles hadn't yet spread. This allowed Koolasuchus to remain an apex predator, surviving long after most of its kind had disappeared. It was a true prehistoric holdover, a monster from the Paleozoic lurking in a world of dinosaurs, but its time eventually ran out. As the climate warmed and crocodiles moved into its territory, Koolasuchus faded into extinction, unable to compete with the newer, faster predators. That's about it. Write in the comments which prehistoric animal scared you the most. For more useful information, watch other videos.